Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. Like always, thanks for joining us, and I am Tim, joined by Ian. How's it going, buddy?
Hi, Tim. Things are going fairly well here.
The most
I
long
hope you're...
distance epic stare down ever. Stop looking at me, Schwan. How you doing, though, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been it's spring break. The kids are out of the house, so I'm not ripping out what's left of my hair. I don't have
You're.
any hair that's not on my face, so
I was gonna say you're ripping out your beard.
maybe. Yeah. So no, things are going really good.
Right on.
Yeah, getting a lot of stuff done around the house. Trying to just enjoy the time and the peace and quiet, and
I'm right there with you. You know, my kids are on spring break right now. They're not in the house, and it has been incredibly quiet in the house. Which, at first, oh yeah, I'll get some peace and quiet. It'll be nice, but here we are, heading towards the end of the week, and it's like I want to just throw something randomly just to have noise.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I was having a conversation with my dog earlier today,
Well, I mean,
and
what,
then
well,
and then I looked at the dog and said out loud to myself, "Wow, this is what it's come to. I'm having a conversation with the dog."
the shibby.
Yes, the shibby.
So
Who's
does your shibby
probably
speak
mad
English?
right now because he's outside and I'm in here.
I like Mako. Mako is a good boy.
He is a good boy.
Oh yeah.
He is a good boy.
So there you go. Well, Ian's having conversations with his dogs, but we are going to have a conversation with you folks tonight. Something we've kind of touched on a little bit before, but didn't really go a full in-depth episode on. In-depth even, an in-depth episode. That's our finale. We are going to be talking some of our favorite cartoons growing up. I mean, there's been a lot of them, and there's still cartoons we watch as adults. But we're going to talk about some of our favorite childhood ones, and probably some of the ones we watch as adults.
Well, yeah, and the ones that we watch as adults, you might consider them anime. Some of them are actual cartoons, if you want to
Right.
go by that true definition of it. But there's been a real evolution of cartoons over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. There was a lot of cartoons growing up. Of course, when we were growing up, at least initially, our cartoons usually came in the form of like Saturday morning cartoons, because when Tim and I were growing up, we're old enough that we had 3 TV stations, and only one of them really played cartoons on the weekends
Yep.
or ever.
Until we got Fox Kids and got a lot of the after-school cartoons, which was that was groundbreaking. As a kid, that blew my mind.
Oh yeah. No, totally. And then of course that was like when we were in grade school, and then when we got to high school, or actually not even high school, like sixth, seventh grade, we would get home after the cartoons were on the TV,
Right.
so we didn't get to watch them anymore after school. So it was a little depressing and sad.
Well, do you remember when WB had their network for a while, and then Kids WB became a thing? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah,
had
totally.
all the advertising, they had the Animaniacs, and they had their voice actors actually advertising the fact that Kids WB is the new home for Animaniacs, and it's like,
Yep.
oh, another cartoon channel, awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, in all reality, I believe it wound up just being like the morning block of the WB programming
Right.
was just kids WB, and that's all it was. Kind of like Fox Kids, was like
Yeah.
the morning block until they moved into news and soap operas.
Right.
But we're kind of discussing like when cartoons were played, not necessarily what cartoons were
Right.
played. So, I mean, when we were growing up, obviously we mentioned it. The quintessential place for cartoons was Fox Kids. That was on, generally after school or in the mornings on Saturdays. CBS actually did a block of cartoons
Oh
for a
yeah.
while. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember they made a cartoon of Tales from the Crypt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's one that I hadn't thought of in years until you mentioned it just now. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd forgotten
it
that.
always sticks in my mind because they had the original voice actor for the Crypt Keeper playing the Crypt Keeper again.
Right? Which I mean,
He was just animated.
of all the shows to put into a kid-friendly format, that's not number one on my list of things that have been done.
Well, you may not remember. You and I may both be too young for this, but back in the '80s, they did a Rambo kids TV show.
Well, they did. Funny that you bring that up because I recently watched a YouTube stream talking about kids cartoons based off of more adult properties. RoboCop had a cartoon.
What was it? Dark Justice, I think, was what it was called.
I
RoboCop Dark Justice. Or
I
something
don't
like
even
that.
remember. Like I watched like a clip of it and went, I can't watch this. And this is coming from the same guy that literally 3 months ago watched every RoboCop movie and the made-for-TV show or TV movie thing that they did. I literally watched the entire RoboCop saga, including the reboot from a couple years ago. But let's see.
Yeah.
Police Academy had a cartoon.
Yep.
I mean, they were just like, you know, it was more about some of the toys also that they had made for that. So like Aliens had a toy line, you know, based they trying to make it more kid friendly. And Aliens, like especially the original Alien, that is not a kids movie. That is not a kid movie.
Well, I mean,
but they were marketing
really,
toys, you know.
Really, anything in the Aliens property line is not kid friendly.
Ain't
like,
that the
period?
Truth? Ain't that the truth?
You know, yeah. I mean, there was a bunch of and it was really like a cash grab by Hasbro and whatnot, right? Like they were trying to market these. You know, they were getting in on the properties and trying to market the toy. You know, create the toy. Hasbro, Mattel, and all them were trying to make toys.
Yeah.
Coincide. I mean, that's really how the Transformers came about, right? It was like they were trying to sell robot toys.
Which... Well, they were toys first, and then made into animation, like imported from. They were mainly, I think it was. I know somebody's going to correct me because I know I'm going to be wrong on this, but it was 2 or 3 different toy companies in Japan that they pretty much went, okay, well, we'll take this guy, we'll take this guy, we'll take this guy. And they were from completely different figure lines, completely different companies, but they licensed them for use in Japan under the umbrella term Transformers. And literally the cartoon, I mean, don't get me wrong, G1 Transformers is amazing. It's still one of my all-time favorites. But it was designed to sell toys.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
But I mean, every cartoon anymore is like Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans. That's why the show got canceled, because they didn't think the toys would be marketable. They weren't, and the ones they did have, they weren't selling enough. Ultimately, that's they won't say that, but that's why it got canceled. It wasn't profitable. They weren't making money on it, which is a shame.
Right, which is terribly sad because the OG Teen Titans cartoon from back in the early 2000s was amazing.
Oh yeah.
There was such intelligent writing. The animation style was definitely new and different for me. I mean, it was American anime. Really what it was.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk like American style anime, I mean, the Avatar, not James Cameron's Avatar, which is a great movie. I love Fern Gully.
Right, Fern Gully with weird forest leopard sex or something.
It is literally Fern Gully. It's about a human who gets transformed into one of the natives. You know, is originally affiliated with the bad guys. Realizes the bad guys are bad, nature is good. Fights with the good guys. It's Fern Gully. I mean, but it's still good.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, it's totes Fern Gully.
Oh yeah.
Which shout out to Don Bluth and his production company for creating Fern Gully.
I was just
a fantastic movie.
I was just gonna say, like Don Bluth, like back in that era, when his movies were being produced and whatnot, there were so many good films that, in my honest opinion, were better than what Disney was producing at the time.
Yes, but the thing is that Don Bluth used to work for Disney, and when he left and started his own production company, they got kind of butthurt about it, and so they expended a lot of capital in order to try to basically stick it to him.
Right.
I mean,
I don't think it worked.
Many of his, so many of his properties were overshadowed and just. One of the major commercial successes was The Land Before Time.
Yes, which is up to part 27 now.
It's something like that. They keep making
everything after Land Before Time 1 doesn't exist in my mind.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there was Land Before Time. There was The Secret of NIMH, which also
oh my god,
not
Secret
really
of
that kid friendly because
I love that
terrifying.
I love Nicodemus. As an adult, I watched that and realizing what he symbolizes, what he stands for. As a kid, I thought Nicodemus was terrifying. Just the way he was drawn, his mannerisms, the glowing eyes. As a kid, I thought I couldn't wrap my mind around it that he's the good guy, but he looks so evil. He's so scary. But but the art style. Oh my god, the art style in Secret of NIMH. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, another one that I'm a big fan of that I think is criminally underrated is Titan AE.
Yeah, see, that's one that didn't that come out around the same time as what was that other Disney movie? Treasure Planet. Didn't it come out around that same, within a couple years of each other?
maybe Treasure Planet was not one that is generally considered as part of like the Disney golden era. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, which is unfortunate because it's a good movie.
Well, yeah, I
The
mean,
same with
it's Treasure Island told in
right.
space. I mean, it's a classic novel or classic.
Right. Well,
Is
it's
it
the
a
same
novel?
thing with
No.
Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I love Disney's
Oh,
Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I think
yes.
it's incredibly intelligently written.
Mm-hmm.
The animation is really crisp and good. The voice acting is great. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it came out in a bad time because it was,
Yeah.
I don't know, it just was never lauded as that great of a movie. So
Right. Which is
it's
a shame, 'cause, yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah, Atlantis is one of those that, like, even Disney doesn't really seem to acknowledge it a whole lot. Like, it's part of their library. But,
Yeah.
like, if you go to Disneyland or Disney World, there's, I mean, granted, like, when I went there, I spent 99% of my time at Galaxy's Edge, but I
don't blame you.
yeah, I mean, I got to crash the Millennium Falcon, so I'm happy. Um, but like, yeah, I don't recall even walking around the Magic Kingdom proper. I don't really recall seeing any references to that at all, or Atlantis or Treasure Planet.
Yeah, there was kind of a dark area in, the late 2000 or late 90s, early 2000s of Disney where they didn't have a lot of commercial success. But
Yeah,
we're kind of deviating a little bit
yeah, a
from the
little bit,
topic
a
of
little
like
bit.
cartoons, where we're talking about like, Saturday morning cartoons.
Yep.
If we want to stick with Disney, I mean, Disney had a lot of really successful Saturday morning cartoons. That
Oh
includes
yeah.
adapting some of their movie properties into cartoons. Aladdin
See,
was
yeah,
an
I really
amazing.
liked it. I really liked the Aladdin cartoon.
Yeah, no, it was great. Aladdin was an amazing Saturday morning cartoon. They used the same cast from Aladdin 2, so they had Dan Castellaneta, who is also Homer Simpson, playing the genie, because that's the role that he played in the movie. Then there was also they adapted The Little Mermaid to a Saturday morning cartoon. My sister
I
was
forgot
in
about
love
that
with
one.
that. It was a really good one. Tim's apparently fighting with his Alexa or his
No,
lighting. I'm not
there
really
we go.
100% sure which,
I
but
like, yeah. Sorry, my lighting is like being 8 shades of weird right now.
so
Yeah, I mean, a couple of those, I forgot the Little Mermaid even did one. I remember seeing it, but yeah, that's another one I hadn't really thought about in years.
yeah, no, it was really good. Obviously there was the OG DuckTales
Ah,
series, which came out in I believe 88, 89 was its original release date.
around there, I
Um,
think.
right. It was really good, but if, this day and age, if you watch the new reboot of DuckTales, holy crap, does
Yeah.
that show blow the original out of the water.
One, like, the reboot does such a good job of honoring where it came from, but not
Yep.
shoving it down your throat that this is something new, this is something new. You
Right.
know, they know
Well, it
what
also
made that
gives
show popular. They know
right.
their target audience even.
Right. Well, I mean, it gives each of the characters personality because, I mean, like Huey, Dewey, and Louie are three distinctly different characters in
Yeah,
the reboot. In the original
they're
series, they
cookie
were
cutters.
basically interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean, you could have literally swapped the color of their shirts and hats, and you would not have been able to tell the difference.
I think they actually did that in a couple
I
of
mean,
episodes as a plot
probably.
point, but
I will say,
point
like,
being, but
new Webby. I love new Webby.
yes,
She is amazing.
yes,
And
yes, I will absolutely.
and shout out to David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck. I mean, we gotta give the doctor credit, you know.
Yes, you do. He is a very very good at, as Scrooge McDuck.
Oh yeah.
But the callbacks as well to like some of their where their origins, like they've had Goofy in the show,
Mm-hmm.
they've had Darkwing Duck in the
Yeah,
show,
which I was
again,
so excited. Like, I love what they did with him, because I was sitting here thinking that, okay, they're going to introduce, because like in the original cartoons, Darkwing Duck was an actual hero that existed in that same universe. I mean, but in the new one, I'm like, oh, cool, they're gonna introduce, the world of Darkwing and all that, and then they want a completely different take, and I'm like, I really like this. I like this twist, because again, it's honoring where they came from
Yep.
without shoving it down your throat. Well, like one of the first couple episodes, you see like Scrooge's like hidden treasure vault room, and
Oh
like
yeah,
if you look in the background, there's so many callbacks and stuff. Like you even see from the original DuckTales movie,
the lamp.
the lamp. Yeah, you see the lamp. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, that like. I want to. Is that movie on Disney Plus? Because I've really been wanting to watch that lately.
I want to say that it is, which again
Good,
the
good.
the
It should
genie
be.
is The genie is played by Rip Torn. So it's such a unique
Wait,
voice actor.
really?
Yeah, the genie is Rip Torn.
You sure?
Yep.
Who's the guy? That's not Zed from Men in Black, is it?
Wait, no, maybe I'm thinking of Rip Taylor. Sorry. Yes, the Zed from Men in Black is Rip Torn. I'm thinking of Rip Taylor.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, that doesn't
Yeah,
sound like
sorry.
him at all. Yeah, Rip Taylor's of all the first names, Rip, and of
Right.
course we mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's really only two famous Rips
mean-
that I can think of off the top of my head.
I
And
mean,
they both have very similar names.
Well,
besides
but-
just Rip.
but two completely different personality types.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I mean, the Disney, they had a ton of shows,
Oh, absolutely.
and of course, one of the ones that I still love to this day, and I think still actually holds up very well, is Goof Troop.
See, that was one that, like, as an adult, if they were to pitch that show to me, I'd be like, I don't think that would work. But like as a kid and seeing what they did with it and how they this is a phrase I never thought I would ever say. They expanded the Goofy mythos.
Yes.
But I mean, like they introduced his son. Pete. They actually gave Pete a more of a personality versus the big bad guy from the Mickey Mouse shorts. They gave Pete a family, and it worked. It worked really well.
And of course, Pete is a used car salesman. So
I mean, like, I can't think of any other thing they could have made Pete and had it work. But I was like, that's perfect casting right there. Have Pete be a used car salesman.
well, it also really kind of set the stage for Goofy for years to come. Like Max is, I believe, canonically
Mhm.
Goofy's son in
Yep.
many properties since then. And the the Goofy movie is, in my opinion, still one of Disney's greatest movies,
Well,
and
it's-
is also extremely underrated.
Well, especially like like us speaking here as parents, like watching it as a kid, it was a fun movie. Watching it as a parent, like, really kind of put into perspective that, my son's going to be a teenager in a couple years. Your son's going to be a teenager even closer.
Absolutely.
And like
a year in less than a month. Yes. So
oh my god, I didn't realize he was that old already. Holy crap.
yeah, he'll be 12 in May. So that means he will be 13 in a year. I mean, it's okay. I've been raising a teenager since he was like 10. So
I mean, I hear that. I hear that with my my youngest, 8 going on 16.
yes.
She is. If you look up "sass" in the dictionary, there's a picture of her giving a shit-eating grin. But anyway, like
Yeah.
watching that movie again as a parent, because the kids and I sat down and watched that a couple months ago, and you definitely get a completely different perspective on that watching it as an adult who has children than
Oh, yeah.
than you did as a kid. And I mean, it's a very very heartfelt film. The animation in it was amazing. The story was amazing. Like everything, like
The songs were amazing.
yes, like I can't think of a single point that I didn't like about that film.
There's I think it's a Tumblr meme that's out there that it's just about Goofy movie. It's like watching Goofy movie as a kid. It's like, oh, Goofy, come on, Max just wants to go to the concert. Take him to the concert. As an adult, you're watching, go, oh, Max, come on, Goofy just wants to hang out with you. Like,
Right?
it's
I mean,
so appropriate.
It's like, again, you get that different perspective. But
Oh yeah.
so
absolutely.
like if we're talking, Disney cartoons, what was your personal favorite of like not even just in that era, just Disney TV cartoons in general?
Darkwing Duck still holds a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fantastic cartoon. I still love it. I actually have it on DVD.
Oh, yep.
I would have to say second would probably be Aladdin.
Okay, so like exact same answer here. Darkwing Duck, I watched so much as a kid that I think he's second cousin. He's a considerable bit older than me. His nickname for me was Darkwing because anytime he would come over and visit, and like mom's side of the family is all like they all live really close to each other. But anytime he would come over and visit, I would always be watching Darkwing, so that's what he called me. So I started calling him Launchpad.
Yeah, and I had all of the Darkwing Duck cartoons too,
Mhm.
or sorry, toys as
Yep.
well. You know,
Yep.
the Thunderquack and the motorcycle and the
The
Darkwing figurines.
I never
and,
had the vehicles, but I had all the action figures. But man,
yeah,
you had the Thunderquack. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
yeah. Oh well, actually, that reminds me. Now, thinking about it, the Thunderquack reminds me. Do you remember Tailspin?
Absolutely, another fantastic one.
Tailspin, which I don't know if you've stayed up on it. They make a callback to in the new DuckTales TV show.
Do they?
Yes, they actually feature Kit Cloudkicker as an adult
What?
piloting the what was it, the Sea Duck?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Really?
feature him piloting the Sea Duck
Oh,
as
that
an
is
adult.
so awesome. That is well the most recent season, or no, not the most recent, but the last, I think, 2 seasons, because it has 4 seasons. DuckTales does, right?
I
Or
think.
5. Anyway, the last 2 seasons I haven't gotten around to watching yet, but like I saw they put out a teaser trailer thing, or like a teaser image showing like all the characters that have been like featured or referenced. And like I'm going through it, going, okay, well, there's Darkwing. I see the plane from. I saw the plane from Tailspin. I didn't realize that was Kit. Gizmo Duck. The genie was in there, so I don't know if he's like in the background or if it is just that lamp and it's like showing, hey, we referenced this thing. But it's again like Disney, when it comes to their animated TV shows, are very much a hit almost every time. I mean, there are very few that I can think of that I go, oh, that's bad. I mean, they've got ones that I think are okay. They've got a lot of ones that I think are amazing, but I can't think of any that I go, yeah, that's bad. I mean, there's some that, yeah, this is kind of my catchphrase apparently, I'm not the target audience for.
Right.
But they're not bad by any means.
Yeah. But I mean, we could continue on Disney for a long time, I think. I mean, they were, again, they've been a quintessential part of my childhood, my parents' childhood, my
grandparents'
kids' childhood.
Yep.
Like, Disney's been around. So,
yes, they have.
They
know what they're doing.
We can move. Right. We can, and they have more money than God. We can kind of move away from Disney a little bit and kind of focus on some of the other cartoons. So, like, when we look at other cartoons from back then, we of course think of Fox Kids, and Fox Kids had a lot of really cool cartoon shows.
Yeah, they did.
Some of the ones that I'm thinking of are X-Men and Spider-Man.
Like that was like, I was always into comics, but living in the middle of nowhere, there was never really any places I could buy comics. I mean, I think one of the dollar stores, I don't remember which one, years ago, that's not even there anymore. They had this little tiny, tucked into a corner, one of those spinning magazine racks that they had. They had comics on, but they didn't consistently, like when they first started carrying them, they didn't consistently from one month to the next carry like, all right, here's issue 47, here's issue 48. It'd be like, all right, you might get issue 47, and then you might not see anything until issue 55. So it was really inconsistent. But like the X-Men cartoon is like my okay, sorry. It was my first big dive into like the X-Men universe. That's what really got me into them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Obviously, I grew up in a different part of the county than you, but we were still out in the sticks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 20 minutes from your house to get to a Walmart. It was 20 minutes from my house to get to a Walmart. So
ironically, the same Walmart.
Yeah, actually, strangely enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, those, and I think back to it, and they deviated from the comic material, but at the same time, they still paid homage to the source material, like with the Phoenix Saga, and the dinosaur lands. I can't remember where it's called.
Savage Lands.
Yeah, the Savage Lands.
Yep.
I was thinking Primordial Lands, and I was like, no, that's not.
I mean, close.
Yeah, the Savage Lands and those kind of things. They had the Blackbird. They had all those other things, and it was such a good cartoon show. And the same thing can be said with the Spider-Man cartoon.
Now, like, between the two, I do think I like Spider-Man as a character more than just about any of the X-Men, but I liked X-Men more as a cartoon. But I think it was because it was more, there's 400 heroes all on screen at once. I know I'm exaggerating there, but it was a team thing, so you got to see a bunch of different characters. But I still like Spider-Man's one of my favorite Marvel characters. Right. I'm generic.
Well, no, you're fine. Wolverine is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So seeing Wolverine in action, and then obviously in the early 2000s or probably mid 2000s, they came out with Wolverine and the X-Men,
which was good.
kind of it was almost like a pseudo sequel to
Right?
the
Yeah.
X-Men or the X-Men TV series, which had Steve Blum playing the quintessential role of Wolverine
And he did
Logan,
an amazing
which
job.
he's been playing Wolverine Logan in almost every IP since then,
Right?
because he just has such an amazing voice for it. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, those were a couple of my favorites. Something that's a little less known that was probably more difficult for us to watch. They also had Iron Man and Hulk cartoons
See, like I remember
done in that
watching.
same style.
Yeah, I remember watching bits and pieces of those, but
Yeah.
like, admittedly, Iron Man was a character I never really paid any attention to until the first Iron Man movie, and then I'm like, I am
Yeah.
100% about this guy now.
Yes.
Tony Stark is my hero.
Yes. Yeah, no, they had the superhero cartoons from back then, and then of course there was obviously um, other cartoons in that genre. We've touched on this before with Transformers,
Yep.
which G1 Transformers was amazing.
Mhm.
I still can't listen to Stan Bush's The Touch without seeing like the movie. Yeah,
Tear-
right.
Tear. You've
The-
got the
the-
touch.
Right. There was also obviously G.I. Joe, which was another
I
Hasbro.
I never really got into GI Joe much.
So my thing was like, neither did I, honestly. Like my cousin had some of the figures. Like they had really cool like toys.
Yeah,
like
they
the jet
did.
planes and the
I had a lot
tanks
of the
and all that
toys.
stuff.
I just didn't know who the characters were.
Right, exactly. But the years later, and this actually kind of goes with both. I mean, they have continuously had Transformer series coming out every couple of years since G1 Transformers.
Yeah, they have. They've been consistent on it.
Right. They continue to release those, but then they did Transformers Prime,
Yep.
which I don't know if you watched it, but
Mhm.
I've seen the entire series. It is amazing.
Yes,
It's such a
Prime-
good
oh, man.
treatment. The voice acting, especially with Peter Cullen coming back as Prime, Frank Welker coming back as Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a good series that
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt
Oh, yeah.
really did the source material justice, while also bringing it into a new area, which also Steve Blum was in that as Starscream, different voice actor,
Right.
but
What I think, if I remember correctly, Prime, because like they've rebooted like the continuity and the timeline of Transformers so many times. Prime, if I'm remembering correctly, is part of what they call the aligned continuity, which is this is where everything stands.
yeah, I believe so, because they actually have continued on with another series after that is a direct continuation.
Yep, it was the Transformers Bumblebee, right?
It wasn't called Bumblebee, but it did.
It might as
Bumblebee
well
was
have
the
been.
main character.
It might as well have been.
Right.
Which
yeah.
I liked. I haven't watched it all yet, but I like what I've seen of it so far.
Right. There was actually a G.I. Joe cartoon that came out in the early 2000s. I can't remember. I think it was like G.I. Joe Redemption or G.I. Joe Renegade or something,
Okay.
I believe was what it's called. And it was completely different from the source material. It's basically like these 4 Joes or GIs get framed for something and are like on the run, and Cobra is actually a legit company.
Cobra!
Yeah, no, they're an actual company, but they're very
Okay.
shady and doing like back arms deals and stuff like that in the background.
All right.
And so these Joes are trying to prove their innocence while taking down Cobra. And it features like Duke and Scarlet and some of the other like big names like
Yeah.
Snake Eyes.
What
and
about
whatnot.
Shipwreck?
No. Actually, no. Now that I say that, I think
Really?
they did feature. I think they did feature Shipwreck in an episode. He wasn't part. He wasn't part of the main continuity, but he was in an episode.
The one random
I shouldn't say main
YMCA
continuity.
guy that shows up is like, "Hey, I'm a GI Joe now."
Right. No, he wasn't. Well, they even had the GI Joe that was like only like he was outfitted in winter gear and had skis. I can't remember his name, but again, these were like one episode appearances where they like run into this person and make friends with him and
Yeah.
whatnot and like get them on their side. But anyway, I thought it was a really good cartoon. Like it was really enjoyable. But then kind of in that same vein of like cartoons that got the reboot, the original Thundercats. which
Oh,
you go
okay.
back and
The first reboot, yes. I thought you were going to talk about Thundercats Roar, but I'm like, no, Ian, I'm shutting off the podcast.
no.
Okay,
The
good.
original Thundercats was really campy. Again, selling toys.
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
you know, what the hell's a Simulflange? Which, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and YouTube search for Blundercats. It is not safe for work, not safe for
Yes.
children.
They
It
are
is
actual.
bloopers.
Yeah, they are actual bloopers. And
Yes.
it's one of the greatest things you will ever see.
Yes.
Especially if you're a Thundercats fan.
Yes.
Man,
But
as I die.
they rebooted Thundercats years ago on
Yeah, I remember
Cartoon
that.
Network.
And like the reboot was pretty good.
It was done in an anime style, like so American anime style. But they actually featured like story and world bending building and character building, and world bending was Avatar. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a
World
completely different series.
building. And it was really engaging. It was really good, and unfortunately, it got canceled after one season, which was a shame because it was such a fun and really engaging series.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I think it was canceled because it didn't sell toys.
I mean, yeah. Like, sadly, that's, you know, I said this earlier. I mean, a lot of cartoons, I mean, they're extended commercials. I mean, effectively. But, like, do you remember, and like we talked about this in our one of our prior episodes, that if back in the day, if you bought the VHS for a cartoon, where the commercial break would normally be, would be a commercial for the toy of the thing that you were doing. And like, there's commercial breaks aren't really a thing on modern media anymore if you buy it for home. But there was one, and I can't for the life of me remember it, but they were dinosaurs that they fitted with like weaponry and armor. I don't think it was called Dino Riders, but that's the only thing that's coming to mind.
I actually think it was called Dino Riders.
Was okay. I remember.
Because I know what you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure it was Dino Riders. Because the reason I remember this is because I'm pretty sure they did a Robot Chicken sketch about that.
Oh God!
And so now I have the theme song stuck in my head or something like that. Dino Rider, yeah.
Okay, I think another one that was a toy line that I wanted to get a hold of but just couldn't find anywhere. Do you remember Centurions?
Yes.
The special ops guys. One was the flying guy, one was the water guy, one was the ground guy, and they had the different those exosuit armor things that would come on.
Yeah, and they had snap-on pieces and whatnot. Yeah.
I remember I was at some random flea market, and I saw one of the toys there. It was, I mean, out of the box, it was missing half the armor, and I'm like, "Oh, your mom, can I get that? Mom, can I get that?" And she says, "No, the guy the sticker on it says $50." I'm like, "You sure it's not 50 cents?" And so she asked, he goes, "Oh no, that's a rare limited edition variant, blah blah blah." You know, I'm a kid, I don't know the difference. It's a cool toy, I want it. And she's like, drop, bye. And she just, nope, not good. I don't blame her. $50 for an action figure. But I would love to get a hold of each one of the three main characters. But I imagine the price of those things has got to be up there.
Right.
Especially if you get one with all the armor.
Yeah, and there was again, there's many cartoons out there that were designed to sell toys. There were also cartoons that were out there that weren't necessarily designed to sell toys. Like if we want to jump ship over to the Kids WB line of cartoons. So obviously for Tim and I, one of the quintessential cartoons back then was Animaniacs.
Yes.
Which they've rebooted and is
amazing. Yes, absolutely it is.
It's such an homage to where it's so meta because it definitely acknowledges where it came from, but is moved into a new era.
Yeah. Well, see, it's interesting. We talked about how the DuckTales reboot honors where it came from, but doesn't shove it in your throat. Animaniacs puts it right up in your face. Do you remember this thing? This thing was awesome. And we as fans go, yes, it was. Show us more of the thing that's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Which I love that. It was so self-referential.
Yes. So self-referential, meta, whatever you want to call it. It was a really good, I mean, not to spoil anything, but the first episode, they talk about how the show is being released in 2020, and it was written in 2018.
Yeah.
So
we hope things don't get worse for you.
Right. Yeah. They talk about that, and they talk about how they hope the material's still topical.
And it still mostly was.
Yeah. And then there was Tiny Toons Adventures, which was kind of a spin-off of Looney Tunes, talking about kid Looney Tune
It,
characters.
it was
that
like
were-
it was effectively like the next generation of Looney Tunes superstars, going through and learning how to be Looney Tunes, which
Right.
I mean was a cool concept.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything with any of those characters though.
They are. I don't know if you saw this, but they're not rebooting it, but they're
Okay.
doing a sequel.
Really?
Yes, they are doing a sequel. So it's the kids, I think, in the next generation. So it's still like
Okay.
Buster and Babs and whatnot, but they're like at the next level of schooling now.
So they're in high school.
Effective.
mean-
That appears to be it. I don't have a lot of information. I just heard about the fact that they're bringing it back.
See, I hadn't heard that one. That's what I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, definitely go and look it up if you get an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't really know more than what I've already stated. So,
All right.
yeah. So there was Tiny Toon Adventures, and then one of my absolute favorites was Freakazoid.
Oh my God, Freakazoid was so good, and that was another
Because it's
Steven Spielberg.
Yes, it was
Yep.
another Steven. Basically, Kids WB was Steven Spielberg.
Pretty much. I mean, well, look at his track record of that stuff. Tiny Toons, Freakazoid, Animaniacs. I mean, the three we mentioned right there, boom, all hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, Freakazoid
And
is so
they
good.
were, yeah, Freakazoid was so good because again, it was one of those shows that was really meta.
Right?
Like,
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was very self-aware, and the main character was so acerbic, and it was just
He was Deadpool before Deadpool was cool.
yes,
I
he
mean,
was
That's the best way to describe him.
with less murder.
I mean, a little bit less murder.
He was kid-friendly Deadpool, is what he was. That's really
mean,
what he.
Yeah, maybe that's why I like him so much.
Yeah, that's really what he was. He's kid-friendly version of Deadpool. Do you also remember the Earthworm Jim?
Abso-friggin-lutely. That is probably one of my favorites. I've loved all the even Earthworm Jim 3D, which I've played every Earthworm Jim game. I love it. I had all the toys, except for the Pocket Rocket. That is the only, and I love being able to call it that.
Yeah.
I had every Earthworm Jim toy except for the Rocket. That was the only one that I could not get my hands on one way or another. I still have actually a couple of the figures sitting over there, still in the packaging, that are like doubles of the ones I had as a kid. But man, that show was so good. I want to watch it again now.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look back on it now, there's some definite like humor that's involved there. That was like, I don't know.
Kids shouldn't be laughing at this joke. This one's for the grown-ups.
Right, exactly. Which, again, if we want to switch gears to those kind of things, right? We can jump over to Skins.
Whoa! Sorry, my computer like spazzed out there.
Did I just lose your audio?
No, can you hear me?
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
That was
Yeah,
weird.
my computer kind of spazzed out there.
Okay. Yeah, so if we want to move over to a different one, Nickelodeon's lineup of cartoons.
They had a lot of good ones.
The classic Nicktoons.
Mm-hmm.
We have obviously one of the most famous, which was Rugrats,
Mhm.
which they are rebooting.
Yes, they are.
Bringing back Rugrats with, I believe, we talked about this a little bit ago.
Yep.
Most of the original voice cast, the original voice actress for Chucky is unfortunately, she has passed away, so she won't be back. But most of the original voice cast is going to be back, which is amazing. 'Cause
Right.
That show was so much fun.
Well, seeing like I saw the little like teaser clip that they put out, and I'm like, man, that's like I wasn't entirely sold on it being a CG show, because the animation was it stuck with me with that original series. It was so iconic.
Yeah, it was Klasky Shupo, I believe it was.
Supos, those guys.
Yeah. Who I believe were actually husband and wife.
Really? Huh. Fun,
Yeah, I think I
fun
remember
fact.
reading that somewhere.
But like when I saw that first clip, I'm like, okay, this works for this, which was kind of surprising.
Right. Well, do you in that same vein, do you remember the Wild Thornberries?
Smashing. Yes.
Yes.
Tim Curry, don't ever stop being amazing. I don't think he knows how to not be.
Well, unfortunately, he had throat cancer, I believe,
Yeah.
or something really bad, so he can't do any more voice acting.
Which
He's-
is a shame, because he has one of those, like, you hear his voice and you instantly know who it is.
Oh yeah, Tim Curry, like Tim Curry and Tony Jay are two people that you instantly knew who they were by their voices. Like there was no mistaking them.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody's wondering who Tony Jay was, go back and watch Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. He plays the voice of Frollo, the priest or bishop or whatever the hell he is.
Right.
I don't know, the bad guy in that.
The thirsty bad guy.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty much what his character boils down to.
Yeah, right. The holier than thou, but I sin more than thou too.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, going back to Disney cartoons, Hunchback of Notre Dame was one of those that I think is another, like, critically, I mean, did amazing. I mean, the box office, as far as I remember, did really good on it too. But it's one that a lot of people, like when you say, "Hey, what's your favorite Disney cartoon or Disney movie?" Most people aren't going to say Hunchback, but I thoroughly enjoyed that. I
did too. Which they had a really stellar voice cast too. I mean, if you
Yes,
think about
they
it,
did.
Quasimodo is played by Tom Hulce, who plays Amadeus Mozart in the movie Amadeus,
Amadeus,
which he earned an Academy Award nomination for. And then he also plays Pinto in the Animal House movie.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's him.
Forgot
That's
about
Tom
that.
Hulce.
Forgot about that.
Yep.
But
He also has done some voice acting work and stuff like that since then.
Yeah.
You know, generally really good person. But so yeah, we look back at the Nickelodeon's lineup. You know, there was Rugrats, there was the Wild Thornberrys,
Yep.
there was Invader Zim, which is one of my favorites.
So good.
Which is also not really a cartoon. It's like 10-year-old plus. Like,
yeah. I mean, like
kind of
like
dark.
the freaking the organs episode. You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Yes. Oh, my squeedly spooge.
Stupid inferior human organs.
Yes.
But like, like as a kid, like that's not a kid-friendly episode. He's literally harvesting organs from children. That's the whole
Yes.
point of the episode.
Yes.
So good though.
Well, then of course, if we
I'm
want to talk
dark.
about not kid-friendly shows, there was Ren and Stimpy.
Dude, okay, so like I was watching. There was an episode of that where Ren and Stimpy are at the beach, and Ren like keeps getting like sand kicked in his face because he's the wimpy guy at the beach.
Oh yeah,
So-
I know the episode
So
you're talking about.
he gets pectoral implants,
Yep.
and I remember very distinctly. I was at Dad's house, and I'm like, "Oh, Ren and Stimpy's on. I'm gonna watch that." So I'm watching that, and Dad just walks by the TV real quick, stops, and goes, "Was that boobs on the TV?" Like, and I very calmly looked at him and said, "No, Dad, it's pectoral implants." And he just, "Okay then," and just walks off.
Yeah, but if I
Was that
remember correctly,
boobs?
Ren's pectoral implants were made from Stimpy's ass fat.
I think so.
Like he gets a transplant of Stimpy's ass fat.
I think you're right.
For pectoral implants.
If it wasn't that episode, they did something with ass implants.
No, I'm pretty sure it was that one because
Oh,
then
yeah.
like, you know, Stimpy made this sacrifice of his beloved butt to
That sounds
Ren,
right.
and then Ren leaves him.
Right.
Like it actually became a story arc for like a few episodes.
Man,
But-
yeah, that show was not a like in like Nickelodeon. That was the thing with Nickelodeon at the time, is they were the edgy cartoons, you know, the ones that you don't usually see after school, you know, cartoons after dark.
Right.
And like for a while, like that's what they were known for, was being the stuff that you might not want to watch this in front of mom and dad. But they
Well, yeah, I
skirted under that rating system barely. They were bumping their head on the way in, but
Well, yeah, I mean they somehow managed to squeak some things by the censors with
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy and Invader Zim.
yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life, which is one of my favorite cartoons ever.
You have always been a big fan of that one.
Right. It's such a. I mean, it's not a kid's cartoon at all. I mean, they feature an episode where Rocco accidentally squeezes a bear's balls.
I don't remember that one.
That's because it has since become a quote unquote banned episode
I can
that
see
doesn't
why.
get aired. That doesn't really get aired very often. Like it's one of those like after dark episodes or something like
Gotcha.
that. Like it's since been banned from like network or like daytime TV. But they're in a forest like foraging,
Okay.
and Rocco's like picking
Oh,
berries. He's
he
picking
reaches
berries off
into
of
a
a
bush.
bush,
Yep. Yeah.
and
Okay. I remember that.
he grabs one, and then you just hear this scream, and a bear jumps out of the bush holding its crotch. And as a kid, you're like, "Huh, I wonder what that's all about." And then as an adult, you're like, "Oh Jesus!"
Oh, he grabbed a bear's ball sack. All right.
Exactly. So yeah. I mean, Nickelodeon really liked to push the envelope, but then again, they also had those wholesome shows, like again, Rugrats. They also, Wild Thornberries, and then Hey Arnold,
Yeah.
which was another great cartoon. But if you think about it, it was like really kind of dark. Like it can get really dark in
Oh
some
yeah. Oh,
ways.
absolutely.
But it dealt with a lot of real life things.
Right.
So it was a really good cartoon. Like really enjoyable.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And then I kind of pivot again, but I think it makes me think about like some of the CG cartoons, the OG CG cartoons that we watched when we were growing up.
I mean,
Reboot.
Reboot. Yep. Beast Wars.
Reboot was the original CG, all 100% CG cartoon.
Yep.
You watch the first season, and it is god awful. It is dreadful.
Yeah, they're. I mean, but like for the time though, that was like cutting edge, state of the art.
Right. Which also Tony Jay is in that show as the main villain, Megabyte.
Yep. That's kind of what he does.
Right. But that show was just like the first season was just awful. The second season was when they actually got into like connected storylines, and it got a lot darker too, but it got really good. Like it was much more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And then if I'm also talking about like Transformers and Beast Wars.
See, Beast Wars. I love Beast Wars.
Beast Wars was a great show. I went back several years ago because it was on Netflix, and I watched it again. I barely made it through the first season.
Yeah,
like, I was just like,
it didn't hold up that well.
No, it was awful. Like the writing was terrible, the animation was terrible. It was just it was one of those things which is just like, oh, this hurts my soul. And then I stuck with it, made it through that first season. The second season got much better writing. I think they finally found their mojo or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And really established, their characters and how they were going to do things. So it became a lot more palatable for sure.
And I liked the premise of Beast Wars that they had to assume those animal forms because at the time unknown planet they were on was so rich in energon that their Cybertronian bodies were just getting overloaded by it, so they had to assume an animal form to be on the planet, which I thought that was really unique because, like in the original cartoon, they were robots in disguise, like the tagline says. They assumed those vehicle forms to blend in. And let's be honest, they didn't really blend in, when they're, blowing up buildings and stuff, It's like saying in the Michael Bay movies, oh, nobody knows that Transformers are a thing. Well, no, they're kind of blowing stuff up. But
no, they definitely leveled like half the city, and
yeah.
yet somehow they're still not a known thing. Okay,
right, but like Beast Wars gave it a more valid, in my opinion, reason to have that transformation.
Well, I mean, it also helped that they set Beast Wars in it was a time travel type thing. They got sucked into the past, so they were on Earth.
Technically, pre G1,
50,000 years before civilization.
Yep. Well, and you also later in the series see they find, and I don't remember if it's more time travel shenanigans or not, but
it's not. I know what you're talking
they
about.
find the Autobots ship, and you see the deactivated.
They find the Ark.
Yeah, they find the Ark, and they see the deactivated Optimus Prime there, and there's stuff where Megatron's trying to steal his spark and kill him before any of this stuff can happen and change time. But it was a neat thing showing that, hey, these are two interconnected stories. I mean, so yeah, it was a neat concept. I really enjoyed it. I mean, again, it doesn't really hold up now, but still absolutely worth watching.
No. If you can make it through the hackneyed writing and just the terrible dialogue and animation from the first season, then I mean, I think you can generally enjoy it. But there are so many cartoons out there that I don't like. There's obviously there's the Toonami block.
Yeah. Toonami was that was anime aside, because we've already talked about anime recently, but like that was like my first big exposure to anime.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Dragon Ball
hmm
Z
Which I
and
mean, Dragon Ball Z. Like if we're going back to like Fox, the local Fox station. I remember like before the bus would pick me up in elementary school, would play Sailor Moon followed by Dragon Ball Z. And
yep.
like I woke up early one morning randomly and Sailor Moon is on, and like, okay, what's this cartoon? And like, here I am, young boy watching this going, okay, this is a girls show, but this is really kind of fun actually. All right. And then Dragon Ball Z came on. And you know my obsession with all things Dragon Ball at this point. And I'm
Well,
like, this
after watching
this
Sailor
is
Moon,
really
he was
good.
definitely dragging his balls.
But like I remember they didn't have anything, they didn't even have up through the full Frieza arc. They only
Yeah.
had like halfway through it, so it got to like a really big climax and then went back to Raditz showing up. And like for years, that's all I knew is that Raditz showed up. This guy who I have no prior reference to is an alien apparently, and now there's this other alien blowing up planets. I don't know if they're gonna beat him or not because here's his brother again. So like for
Yeah, well,
yeah, that was like right around the time I first got internet. So like I think like you and a bunch of our other friends, like I was like feeding like whatever information I could find off the internet. 99% of which wasn't even true. It was all fan made stuff from Japan. Like
right.
okay, there's like Super Saiyan 10, and this is the God Dragon Piccolo fusion, and none of it was real, but it was still really cool to me.
Right. Well, then you have that was also back in the Ocean Dub days
Oh
when
God,
like
yeah,
some of the OG. I mean, the voice acting wasn't necessarily terrible, but
yeah. It's
I'm
not
certain.
Funimation standards.
Right. I'm certainly glad that Funimation acquired it and redubbed it.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though I think Sean Smell still did the original voice of Goku. I think they just brought him back and then kind of had him redo the
I
performance.
think so. I'd have to go back and look on that one. I either it
Right.
was him or somebody else reprised their role because they're like, you keep doing that. Well, so you remember when Vegeta
Well, it
had
definitely
that?
wasn't Vegeta.
I was gonna say with his, I am the Prince of all Saiyans. Ah!
Yeah, it kind of sounded like Skeletor.
Yeah.
It's really like
Yeah,
high pitched.
Goku.
It's over 9,000.
Oh my God, yeah. I try to block that out of my memory. Like he was so whiny and pissy. It really
Well, I mean, let's admit, no matter what voice actor it was, OG Vegeta really was whiny and pissy.
yeah. Well, but I mean, like when you change the voice that much, it completely changes the experience of that character.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean,
Chris Sabat is the
mm.
new Vegeta, and he does such a bang up job. And honestly,
he's the new 12 different characters in that show.
well, yeah, because he does Piccolo as well.
Mhm.
But honestly, though, like watching DBZ and then watching, the first, I think I'm up to like episode like 30 or 40 of Super.
Which like I've watched all of Super. It is really good.
I will say that Vegeta's actually my favorite character.
Yeah, well, they do an amazing job of that, and this is another one of those. Super is not a reboot; it's a continuation.
Yep.
Like Vegeta shows so much character growth in that. Like
Oh, yeah.
I am genuinely happy because so many times in Z, like you think, okay, this is it. This is where we're gonna have that big character moment. And like the Majin Buu saga kind of had that, when he does his redemption and kills himself, or well, he inadvertently kills himself trying to defeat Majin Buu by releasing all of his energy. You know that scene. But then that was it. With Super, you actually see character growth. You see that he's a family man. He's still very much
Well, I mean,
a proud
they
man.
they start the series with him really having that character growth, like
Yeah.
as the family man. Like he's on vacation with
Yeah.
Trunks and Bulma.
Yeah, which
For
I
crying
thought was
out
I
loud.
thought was so freaking cute. I mean, I'll be honest, that was
Right.
adorable.
And then, of course, there's obviously the quintessential line, "That's my Bulma!"
Which that was one of my favorite parts of that. Absolute favorites.
Yes, because it really does. It shows a huge turnaround for what was originally a villain character. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about, like, villain redemption. Vegeta is probably the quintessential,
Mhm.
redeemed villain.
Yeah.
And he's shown such character growth, and
Mhm.
he's just,
Absolutely.
like, he's cognizant of the people around him now.
Yeah.
Unlike Goku, whose really only shtick is I want to fight powerful things.
I'm a punch it.
Right, like I'm gonna be a terrible dad and I'm gonna punch
Dude,
things.
like, seriously, he is the worst father ever. I mean,
Yeah, no.
Piccolo's a better dad.
I mean, even fucking Vegeta like backhanded Trunks at one point,
Yeah.
but then he was like, "Oh crap."
Oh my god, I'm sorry. We were training. I didn't mean. I'm sorry. That was a genuine accident. I will take you to the park. And then that's where that episode in Super comes from. Because he gets reminded that you haven't done that yet, Dad. Oh. Fine, we're going to the park! That was such a great episode. Seeing Vegeta in that tiny little train. He is so not about this, but he knows it's for his family.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so, it's a shame that Vegeta was always, has always been kind of second bananaed to Goku, but at the same time, he shows his own character growth, and really, he's not happy about where he's at, but he's almost accepting of it.
Yeah,
like, he knows who he is, and he has a family to go home to.
That he actually cares about.
That he actually cares about, yes. And while I'm sure, Goku cares about, Gohan and Goten and Chi-Chi, but admittedly, Chi-Chi tricked him into marrying him.
And he cares about them in a different way.
Yes.
He will protect them if it comes down to it, but they're a thing that's there. They're like pets to him. Honestly, it feels more like that at times they are pets without being called pets.
Yes. The only time that he really gives a crap about the kids is when they, show massive power boosts or can transform into Super Saiyans.
I want that filler episode. It takes place back in time a little bit. Gohan comes home. He's got perfect grades and everything. Chi-Chi's all doting on him. Oh, our son, he's so amazing. Hey, that's great, Gohan. Yeah, I'm gonna go out and train some more. And then Piccolo shows up. I'm proud of you, son. You did good. I'm gonna take you out for ice cream later. Because honestly, Piccolo, again, he's a better dad to those kids.
Yes. Even though he didn't really have a whole lot to do with Goten.
Well, I think in the manga that there's more of that he still kind of is like a guardian type figure for him, but
mentor type.
Yeah, but Gohan is definitely he was raised by Piccolo because his dad was dead for a couple of years.
Right.
Several times.
Exactly. Yeah. Death is kind of a concept.
Some deadbeat dads go out for cigarettes and never come back. Goku goes out and dies repeatedly.
That's probably a good thing that Yamcha never became a dad.
See, Yamcha, I know we're deviating a little bit. Yamcha, I feel like, had he ever had a child, I think Yamcha would have been a good dad, apart from the, constantly dying. I think he would have been,
I think if
he would have been a
Yamcha
nurturing
had a kid,
dad.
if Yamcha had a kid, he probably wouldn't have fought.
He would have stayed even farther back than he is now. But, I think that Yamcha had the potential to be a nourishing dad. I think.
I do, too. I think he had potential, but instead he just became a meme.
Did you know that they recently made a statue of the Yamcha pose? And it comes with a crater you can set him in. I want that. I will mount it on my wall.
Well, just be careful. If you put it on your desk might explode.
I mean, because it's Yamcha.
It's Yamcha.
But no, getting back to other cartoons. I remember growing up, and this will be no surprise to anybody that knows me. My all-time favorite, after-school Saturday morning cartoon, whatever you want to have, was The Real Ghostbusters. And I give it that distinction of The Real Ghostbusters because there was another cartoon called Ghostbusters, which was loosely based on, an old live-action show called Ghostbusters, which, fun fact, when they went to go make the Ghostbusters As We Know It film, they had to actually secure the rights to use that name because I think it was Filmation, if I remember right, still had the rights to the name being used as a live action thing. Well, the movie came out, was super popular, and all right, we're going to plan a cartoon. Well, Filmation was like, okay, well, we're going to cash in on this, use the name that we already own, and make a cartoon called Ghostbusters. They changed it up from the old TV show, made it more sci-fi, things like that, but they wouldn't license the rights to use the name Ghostbusters. It's like, well, no, we're currently producing a cartoon called Ghostbusters. So that's why the Ghostbusters proper cartoon is called The Real Ghostbusters. They did that pretty much as okay, fine. But that was my all-time favorite cartoon growing up. I mean, you know this. I had and still have all the toys, the like the action figures, the vehicles, the actual wearable stuff.
I think I gave you
I was bringing
the
that up. Yep,
trap.
yep. Because I had one as a kid that I had forever. Accidentally left it out one night at my grandma's, and my grandpa stepped on it and just completely broke it.
Yeah.
And like for years, I could never find one. And when I could find it, I never got around to getting it. And I'd mentioned it to you one day over at your house, and you're like, "Hang on a second." You go out in that little shed on the side of your parents' old house, rummage,
Yep.
rummage. There you go. And I still have it. I still have that. My kids actually play with it now. It's in my son's room right now. But he and my daughter, like, they'll play Ghostbusters sometimes, and they'll put on their little proton packs. They'll get out all the little toys and whatnot, and they'll go hunt ghosts around the house, around the yard. So, our house is a ghost-free zone. So I'm proud to say.
Well, of course. Yeah, I'm glad it is maintained playability, and
Yep.
and people have still loved it.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed Ghostbusters as a kid. Like I had the toys. I think a family member, probably my aunt, got me those toys at like garage sales and stuff like
That
that.
that
Which
that,
I
that sounds like
enjoyed
something
them. Like,
she'd do.
right, I enjoyed them. They were fun, but I was definitely not like an uber like Ghostbuster weeb like you are.
Yeah.
So,
It,
I'm glad that I was able to give that to you, and it's still maintained, and it has experienced as much joy as
oh yeah.
it does.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, heck,
Um,
if I took down my green screen behind me right now, literally directly behind me is like all of my like not that I have in locked cases Ghostbuster collectibles. Like you will see two proton packs back there, a bunch of like action figures and collectibles on a couple shelves. I mean, I am admittedly a little bit of a Ghostbuster fan, which I saw the new little teaser thing that they put out. Which did you?
yes, I did.
Like okay, like
I was going to text you about it, and then I went, no,
no,
Tim's already seen this
Tim's
like
already
five
yeah,
times.
exactly. Like I'm not surprised. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. Giving ample time here. I'm not surprised. That was a kitty.
That was yeah, getting my attention by pacing back and forth on my desk.
But I'm not surprised that they're making Baby Stay Puft because after the success of Baby Whatevers, especially in Mandalorian, Baby Yoda slash Grogu, I'm not surprised, but at the same time I'm not disappointed. I want to know why. I have my theories on that. I'm sure we could make a whole episode of me going off on theories of the new Ghostbusters film. But I'm very much looking forward to it. It
Yep.
comes out like right after my birthday in theaters. Hopefully by then everything will be more hunky dory that I can feel safe in taking my kids to watch it because they both want to go see it. And I'm like, if we can, we will.
Tim is going to go to. He's going to watch it premiere day in IMAX,
Oh, yeah.
DMX, like
D-
3D
DMX,
yeah,
THX, you mean?
yeah, sure, whatever.
Which I mean, like a quick moment, moment of condolences for DMX and his family. He passed away today.
Yes.
So,
so I mean that'll probably date this episode. So
a little
if anybody
bit.
needs to find out when this was recorded.
There you go.
You're welcome to correlate the two. Yes, DHX. So anyway, Uber fanboy here is definitely going to
Oh yeah,
enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention, another one of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons, which was the Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning cartoon, which is also known as the Sonic Sat-Am or Sonic Saturday AM, as it was called, because back when we were growing up, there's actually two Sonic cartoons. There was the Sonic Sat-Am, which was based upon the comic book the Archie comic book series.
Which those were so good. I had so many.
They're still going.
Well, it's a different continuity now. But I mean,
well,
it still pulls back from a lot of the stuff that like we grew up with in those comics. But oh man, they were good. But yeah, but then the second cartoon was more.
Yeah, the second cartoon was produced by DIC, DIC.
Deke.
Yes, exactly. For anybody that DIC.
If you know that sound, you know what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly, and you're also around our age.
Yep.
Which that one was definitely more like a tongue-in-cheek, fun, kid-friendly,
goofy kind of thing.
Yeah, they had like weird, goofy backgrounds, and Robotnik was this like bumbling, idiot, and kind of just stumbled upon success occasionally, which was then quickly thwarted. But the Sonic Sat-Am cartoon definitely portrayed um, Robotnik as this like evil genius.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
like his downfall was really his crappy subordinates and his own ego.
Yeah, oh, very much so.
Like just his ego led him to feel like he was just superior than everybody, and ergo he would wind up, ultimately failing because he would get goaded into making a mistake.
Yep.
But
Well, then there was a third Sonic cartoon which came out a little after that, Sonic Underground,
yes,
which
yes,
I never really got into that one. Like I watched it and I'm like,
neither did I.
yeah, whatever. My kids like, my mom got them randomly. She's like, oh, it's a Sonic cartoon. The kids will like this. I'm like, oh, Sonic Underground. All right, here you go, guys. They absolutely love it. Like, okay, okay.
All right.
If you like
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
if you like it, go for it.
Right. I mean, it was one of those. I'm the same way as you. Like, I never really got into it. It did make me happy that they did have Jaleel White playing Sonic the Hedgehog and all
Right.
of those original properties.
Mm-hmm.
At least they had that consistency. But
Right.
the Sonic Sat Am saw Jim Cummings
Mm-hmm.
playing Ivo Robotnik. Jim
Yep.
Cummings is famous for a lot of different things.
Yeah, he is.
Darkwing Duck, as we mentioned earlier. He's currently the voice actor that plays Winnie the Pooh. He plays Tigger.
I forgot that he did that as well.
Yes, he does all. He does Ray in The Princess and the Frog,
Oh
um,
yeah.
which is even funnier because I believe he actually is from Louisiana.
Oh hey, there you go.
So that works out for him. But he does so many different voices. Then they saw Charlie Adler as Snively,
Mm-hmm.
which if anybody knows Charlie Adler, like you definitely know his voice.
Yep. And like
Played all of the three main characters in the Cow and Chicken cartoon, Cow,
Yeah, he
Chicken,
did.
and the red guy.
I forgot about that too. Like Cow and
Yes.
Chicken was I know we're kind of deviating a little bit. Cow and Chicken was one of those that Cartoon Network originally did a thing called Cartoon Cartoon, where they
Yep.
were like 10-minute long like things, and you could actually vote on what one. They would show a whole bunch, then after a while they would play them all back like one right after another, and you could vote on which one you wanted to be the next Cartoon Network show. And that's how we got things like Cow and Chicken. We got Johnny Bravo off of that. We got Dexter's Lab off of that. I think Samurai Jack was another one. And like,
I think Samurai
no,
Jack.
it was its own show to begin with.
Yeah, because Samurai Jack piggybacked off of the success of Dexter's Lab, which was a Gendy Tartakovsky.
Yep,
property.
that's right. So yeah, we got Dexter's Lab, we got Johnny Bravo, we got Cow and Chicken,
Powerpuff Girls.
Powerpuff Girls. That's the one I was thinking of. Which is
Yeah.
getting a live action reboot, which I'm not.
Yes.
Who they've shown off in the cast so far, I'm like, okay, you've got some recognizable people here. You've got some good actors. I don't know if I'm sold on the whole premise of it. No.
No.
Effectively,
not really.
it takes place after the cartoon. The girls are older now, and they're bitter.
Oh.
They're bitter at the fact that they effectively had their childhoods wasted being superheroes when they never got a chance to be kids. So now
Gotcha.
they're like completely disenfranchised and everything, and I'm like, I could see it being interesting. I would love to see a live action him, and I want to know who's going to play him, because that will please me greatly.
I mean, that character was nightmare fuel back in the the late '90s. So
Right.
well, I mean, okay, so if you think about it though, like they did, what was it, Riverdale, which was the live action Archie
which
show, which I
I-
heard
I-
was actually really
yeah,
good. Like
I
it
never
went for
saw
a
it.
long time.
I was never growing up in this area. You can probably relate to this. Like where you and I were reading X-Men and Sonic comics, all the Amish kids were huge Archie fans. That was what they read. So Archie, I never really got into. But yeah, same thing. I heard that Riverdale was really good. I never got into it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. So
I could maybe see Powerpuff Girls working like that then. Now that you mentioned that.
yeah, it really just depends on how the writing is
Yeah.
and who's on board to direct and write
Oh,
and
absolutely.
stuff like that. I'll give it a fair shake.
I mean, yeah, same thing. I'm interested to see it, but I'm going into it with muted expectations.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things that I'll withhold judgment until after I've seen a couple of episodes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
sometimes it takes a few episodes to really get off the ground.
Right.
But But yeah, so real quick, jumping back to Sonic, they they had the SatAM.
Yep.
They recently did another cartoon. CG is Sonic Boom,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
was kind of a slightly different continuity, but
Yeah.
it's actually pretty funny because it's really meta. Like it's very like self-aware and tongue-in-cheek. Like I think at one point, they portray Knuckles in this as like this big, the big beefy bruiser,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
kind of
well,
like
it's
the
based
muscle.
on the Sonic Boom games.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
kind of like the muscle-headed idiot and whatnot. But I don't remember the exact line, but he basically makes. They ask him something, and he responds in a way that it's talking like masculinity or something like that. And he says a very unmasculine thing. He's like, "What? I support women's rights."
Okay, that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool, though.
Yeah, it was very like very. It was very like, wait, what?
Well, okay.
So,
do you remember there was another Sonic cartoon, Sonic X? Do you remember that?
yes, I do. Which was anime Sonic, but
yeah,
it was like sad, like kitty anime Sonic.
Well, what wasn't that was a 4Kids thing?
It was, yeah, 4Kids.
Yeah,
TV.
which 4Kids they brought a lot of stuff to the States that we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise, but
their voice.
That's all I'm gonna say on that. Is just sigh.
Yeah, the problem with 4Kids was that their voice acting was just awful. It was so ham-fisted.
Like,
you remember?
Like, I imagine there were a lot of really talented people that worked, and did those voices, but I think it was the writing and the presentation and the translations that they did.
Yeah.
I think is what ruined it. I mean, I imagine there were a lot of probably really talented voice actors who were still doing work, but their resume is always going to say 4Kids on it.
Yeah. Well, do you remember the Ultimate Muscle cartoon that 4Kids brought over?
Muscle.
It was like the intergalactic wrestlers.
Yes, yes.
It was nothing more than a 30-minute fart joke.
Yeah.
That was actually the main character's like one of his ultimate moves was like he farts in their face or something like that.
Like I can't remember what that series looked like. I don't remember anything about it, but I remember the name Ultimate Muscle. I remember that. I just
like I said, it was like intergalactic wrestlers, and the main character had like some kind of weird like fish fin or something coming out of his head.
Yeah.
He wore like the blue jumpsuit.
I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's probably a reason I blocked that out.
Probably a good thing. I'm sorry that I dredged up that memory.
Way to go, Ian. Way to go.
Yeah. And on that terrible disappointment, we are probably out of time for today. So we will leave you, and I'm borrowing that line from the immortal Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear and the Grand Tour. So thank you, Jeremy Clarkson. Please don't sue me. So anyway,
I don't write his script, just for the record. We don't have a script. We don't believe in scripts.
We really don't. Like, we actually don't even know what the hell we're talking about until like 2 hours before the show.
I mean, shh. We're professionals.
Exactly. Anyway, so I think that'll do it for tonight. Do it for us for tonight, folks. Yeah, so nostalgia cartoons, a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of makes me want to go back and watch some of them, but at the same
it really
time,
does.
I want to ruin my childhood by seeing how cringeworthy they are now, with a few exceptions. So, anyway, we will go ahead and wrap up for tonight. So, as always, for Non Sequitur Nerds, I am Ian.
And I'm Tim. We'll catch y'all later.
Bye.